The road to war in Syria runs up Lebanon's Bekaa Valley. To the east, the hills that mark the border. It's a road built by Iran, and that's no surprise. The Bekaa is a vital corridor for the alliance between Iran, Syria, and Lebanon's Hezbollah militia. And now that alliance is dragging Lebanon itself into the war. This valley has long been a channel for smuggling arms into Syria. Now it's becoming a battlefield itself. In the town of Hamel, they're still putting out the fire from a rocket attack. The local headman says it came from inside Lebanon. He's from Hezbollah, and he believes it's a reprisal by Syrian rebels and their Lebanese allies for the military support his organisation's been giving to Assad's forces.
They've suffered a big loss in Syria. They're frustrated, so they're attacking border villages that help the Syrian army. But they don't understand who they're dealing with. We've gone through many wars, and God willing, we'll win.
Young Hezbollah fighters who died in Syria are celebrated all along the Bekaa. Among them, Mohammed al-Siblani, aged 24. He grew up in this house and was training to be a medical technician. Now, in his family's eyes, he's a martyr.
We were very, very proud of him. Everyone thought well of him, his friends, his teachers. They all said his behaviour was exemplary. It was the same at home, especially with me.
The Battle of Qusair, in which Muhammad died, pitted the Syrian regime and Hezbollah against rebels whom Hezbollah refer to as takfiris, religious extremists.
The confrontation was face to face. There were only 5 meters between him and the takfiris. Of course with machine guns and everything, so that's how our son was hit with bullets and martyred.
Martyrdom's nothing new for Hezbollah in the Bekaa. The mausoleum of the militia's former leader, Abbas al-Musawi, dominates the nearby village of Nebishit. He was killed by Israel in 1992. But it's harder to explain why Hezbollah members are now being martyred in a fight with fellow Arabs in Syria. Hezbollah has been revered throughout the Arab world for its resistance to Israel. Now it risks losing that prestige with its open military support for President Assad's regime in Syria. A complicated pattern of reasons lies behind that gamble. Without Assad, Hezbollah's military supplies from Iran would be disrupted, but it fears too the forces who would replace him. Hezbollah is a Shiite organisation. Its supporters don't see the Syrian rebels as freedom fighters. They see them as Sunni zealots who won't accept other forms of Islam, takfiris. To Muhammad's family, the threat of takfiri extremism after the fall of a secular dictatorship feels very real.
We've seen what they've done in Iraq, the daily bombings. The United States came to Iraq in 2003 to install a democratic system, but what we saw were regular al-Qaeda attacks with 100 or 200 people killed.
They believe Muhammad died to protect them, because a rebel victory in Qusair would have put takfiris uncomfortably close to the Shiites of Lebanon.
The martyr Muhammad was not desperate to die. He was engaged to be married. He was building himself a house. He loved life. He went to fight because he knew these takfiris would come one day to his house, his family and his friends, and slaughter them as they did in Qusair.
Echoing across the rooftops of Lebanon, You can hear the ever harsher sound of sectarian division from the other side too. This is Tripoli, a largely Sunni city on the coast. And the Imam at Friday prayers is demanding action to help the rebels of Syria. That, he tells worshippers, means standing up to Shiite hatred, Shiite terrorism, Shiite extremism. Listening is a young man, Zaid al-Shahal, who's just returned from fighting with the rebels in Qusayr. And there's plenty more here who'll fight if they get a direct call.
In Islam, there is no borders. There is no borders. There is belief. There is belief. It is a brotherhood. It's a network. That network, whether you're in Chechnya, Somalia, or in Syria, or in Tripoli, or next door, it's all the same. And these young kids, the older ones, they're all prepared to leave.
For them, the rebellion's driven not by violent extremism, which they denounce, but by moral outrage.
What can I say about an oppressive regime that kills women, children and defenceless people who are only getting more weapons now?
But in Qusayr, he was fighting not only Syrian troops, but also Iranians and fellow Lebanese from Hezbollah.
We caught many of them and killed them after interrogating them. We killed them with their IDs on, carrying their key to heaven.
Fluttering above, the black flag of jihad marks the building where Zaid's father lives and holds court. He's one of the leaders in Lebanon of the strict and fast-growing Salafi school of Islam. He's called unambiguously for young Lebanese to fight with the Syrian rebels. If they lose, he says, it would be a catastrophe for the Sunni, the beginning of a Shiite power grab in the Middle East.
ثم من أجل أن ينطلقوا بعد ذلك لإحكام الطوق على.
Then they will move on to besiege Saudi Arabia and other countries in the Gulf, to control the sacred places and the riches of that region, to rule the Islamic world if they can, and become a world superpower.
Tripoli, Lebanon's second largest city, has for years seen sporadic violence between Sunnis and a local community of Alawites, the Shia sect that President Assad belongs to. Now the Lebanese army has stopped the fighting, but no one knows for how long. As the civil war in Syria becomes ever more sectarian, it's deepening the old Sunni-Shia divide right across the Middle East, and many fear that Lebanon, this most fragile of states, will crack under the strain. In the Sunni districts of Tripoli, as elsewhere across the Arab world, Hezbollah, which means the party of God, is now referred to as the party of Satan. Its leader, Hassan Nasrallah, made efforts at a rally last week to calm sectarian passions in Lebanon. His party needs stability on its home ground, but Hezbollah will fight on in Syria.
We are in a new situation in Middle East, in a very new situation. We didn't see the situation from many 100 years. If it continues like this, we are going in a war of 100 of years.
Between who?
Between Sunni and Shiite in this region.
In Tripoli, Zayed's planning to return to Syria when the shrapnel wounds in his leg and back have healed.
God willing, when I'm better, I'll fight until we win, or until God takes me to him.
Back in the Bekaa, Muhammad's sister Hawra believes Shiites today are being targeted just as the Prophet Muhammad's grandson Hussein, one of the Shiites' great leaders, was in the 7th century AD.
The way that Imam Hussein and his son were killed is the same way that the Takfirians are trying to kill us.
So all this happened 1300 years ago,
yes.
but really the same thing is happening now.
Yes, the same story is renewed.
As the war spills over into eastern Lebanon, many on both sides in the region now think they're in a battle for survival, and outside powers are doing little to dampen their fears.